What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dove, and with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
What is up, JJ Wang? Can you believe we are 12 weeks through the season, meaning 2 more weeks until the fantasy playoffs? If you have a good fantasy commissioner who's updated for the new season intentionally.
Yeah, fantasy football always goes by so fast. You know, being like week one, you're like, oh, I got a long, 15 weeks ahead of me. Then here we are sitting, we got 4 weeks left, and it's just like, oh man, I got another 8 months of just talking about fantasy football.
Yeah, and it's when you look back at that like week 3 matchup where you realize you played some dopey player instead of another that's coming to as you're making that playoff push. Go, oh man, if I hadn't made that one move 2 months ago, I wouldn't be sweating bullets the last 2 weeks here before I get to the playoffs. I have a team that was setting high and mighty and just totally pooed to bed this week. And the next 2 weeks, who do I play? Oh, the best 2 teams in the league. So farewell dynasty playoffs, but I did net Travis Etienne and James Robinson for the future as opposed to a draft pick in the upcoming draft. So, oh well. But if you want to hook up with us, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You know the place. It's all in the links below. YouTube. Check out the website, thefantasycouriers.wixsite.com/website, or send us an email, thefantasycourier@gmail.com. We're trying to blow up all these areas. We're all over the podcast world now. You could be listening to us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Music. And if you have a moment, check out a new podcast area called The Reason. I've actually been emailing with the owner of The Reason. Seems like a pretty cool dude starting a social media type podcasting zone. And if we can get 10 listeners in there, we could be featured on the front page, especially with him and I having personal contacts. Maybe one day we could be the featured Reason podcast.
Be the main event.
Oh, be the main event of the day. So yeah, looks like we had a pretty exciting fantasy week. I know. I mean, obviously, I was a pretty happy camper for my team, but I'll jump on them and a couple players here as excited as I am. But this is just going to be straight up pleasure and playing today, isn't it?
Yeah, with the injury news coming out today, I mean, there's a lot of big name players. I think they deserve a little more time with that. I'm sure everybody knows who they are, so I really won't go through them. We're just going to jump in here to the pleasure and pain segment. It felt like during the games, there was a lot of pain, but looking back at it, there was a little bit more pleasure than I thought. Of course, you got the injuries. I was going to put the injuries in as the pain, but like I said, I feel like they deserve a little more.
That's ironic because when I was looking at the docket, I was more able to put in the pleasures, and I struggled for pains. That's why you saw an empty part on that side for me.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the pleasures are a lot easier because you actually got to go down and look for the pains. You actually got to scroll down and get down to like that number 100th player to look for some of these guys.
Yeah.
But we're going to jump into it. We'll start with the pleasures. The first guy, number one guy on the week, well, as far as quarterbacks, and the new number one quarterback for the year. So that's the 4th different quarterback to have that number one spot in the last 4 weeks. And that's Josh Allen. He was 23 for 28, 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 8 for 43. Kind of started off a little weak, came on there towards the end of the second quarter. So my question is to you, does Allen remain the number one quarterback next week, or do we get a new guy?
I have a feeling he drops out next week, but could easily end up as the top one because next week he does face the New England Patriots and the Belichick defense, which is going to slow him down. And I think it also depends upon who you got. My boy is in one of our dynasty leagues is 0.3 higher than Allen.
I seen
I'd
that.
put Allen number one. I don't think Tom Brady's number one.
No. He was he's number one in our. But I think I went and double checked that because I was getting different things there. But yeah, I think Brady's down to number 4. We'll get to him in a second.
But I think it depends upon who Brady plays next week. To be honest, because it's really currently the way it's looking it's Brady, Allen, Herbert, pretty much, right?
I mean, Jalen Hurts is like the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah, it depends where he gets in the scoring.
Yeah, I mean that's all. Yeah, but like overall, I mean Hurts is right up there with the rest of them.
But after this week, it might not. We'll talk about that.
Well, I mean, Brady's went from one. We'll get to them in a second. Yeah. But Brady went from 1 to 4 in the last 4 weeks, so he's trending down. The next guy is Mac Jones. He's the number 5 quarterback on the week. He's number 18 on the season so far. You actually put Mac Jones in here. I feel like you're becoming a big fan. He was 23 for 32, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did get 11 yards on 2 carries, so kudos for him. Seems to be coming on at the right time. So is it Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence rest of the season?
Oh, it's Mac Jones by a mile. Trevor Lawrence looks pretty terrible, and the team is terrible. So you follow who has the better team at this point, and I'm hoping this Trevor Jones is just Trevor Lawrence. They had a baby. I hope this Trevor Lawrence thing is just I'm on a pretty sad team. I'm trying to grow a team, and not I was overhyped. I am going to be the next Ryan Leaf without the craziness. But yeah, I ate crow many weeks ago, and I'm on the Mac Jones train. You got to follow the stats and the wins. I mean, my buddy I saw Sunday said, "Hey, it's nice to see the Patriots ahead of your Dolphins." I was like, it makes me sick. Like they feel like the Indianapolis Colts of quarterbacks recently.
Yeah, I
But
mean
worse.
they're playing really good all over the place. I mean they're just a solid team. They're not great anywhere, but just solid pretty much everywhere. All right, the next guy, we haven't talked about this guy in a while. He was the number 2 quarterback on the week, and he's currently the number 8 on the year. And evidently, he's much tougher than Derrick Henry because he's out there playing, on his broken pinky finger. Says he can barely stand. He's out there running around. Bunch of crap. Whatever. And that's Aaron Rodgers. He's 28 for 45, 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did get a whopping 2 carries for 0 yards and a touchdown. So kudos for him. So the question for you is, who has the better rest of the season, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
Ooh, I'd have to check this. To me, it'd be schedule dependent. So looking at Rodgers has Bears, Ravens. So in regular season, Bears and Ravens, then a playoff. He's got a bye week here, doesn't he? No?
His bye week is this week, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he already
had it. So I'm looking at the schedule.
Week,
so he's got Bears and Ravens the next 2 weeks. No, his bye week's
this week.
This week. Okay, yeah, it's coming up. Okay, so there we go. I'm looking at their schedule. And then he plays the Bears to close out the regular season, but his playoff is pretty tough. Ravens, Browns, and Vikings. And but then again, I'm looking at what he did this week. The reason I would say Aaron Rodgers is because look at what he did versus the amazing Los Angeles Rams defense. He put up numbers, but Tom Brady, he's got Falcons, Bills, Saints, Panthers, Jets, Panthers for the rest of the year. So Aaron Rodgers, based upon this week, should be it, but I'm going to have to go Tom Brady based upon schedule, ease of schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. It's a tough choice. You can't go wrong either way. I mean, they're both elite options. All right, so good for the quarterbacks. Switching over to the running backs, we had a big day, and pretty much the reason for Tom Brady not having a big day. He was the number 1 running back on the week, and surprisingly, the number 5 running back on the year. That is Leonard Fournette. He's 17 carries for 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, then 7 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. He had just as many touchdowns yesterday as he has on the whole year. So that puts him from 4 to 8. I'm sure that's a big reason why he jumped up so high. So the question to you is, playoff Lenny ready to go?
He's ready to go. Is he going to be Derrick Henry, Lenny? No. It looks like Arian's got his head on straight. I love when guys get exactly 100 yards. That is the greatest stat. Like when you get one of those, like, okay, I got 100 yards. How does that happen? But they seem to trust him. They realize what I think. Well, I realized from day one that Ronald Jones was not that good, and he was overrated coming in. And a lot of my friends wasted first-round fantasy dynasty picks on him. But he looks confident. He's got the trust. And when you get the trust of the GOAT, you can do pretty much anything. He made some pretty cruddy players that we've never heard of good in New England. So he's going to be a guy you're going to roll out as a 2, and he's going to end up being a 1 a bunch of weeks because they're going to give him touchdowns because they're going to score points, especially with that schedule they have coming up. So it's he's pretty good right now.
He could really affect all the pass catchers on on that team except for Gronk, which is what we'll talk about in a second.
I mean, I don't think he'll catch 3 touchdowns. He won't get this many touchdowns again, but he does have the confidence. I think they're still a passing team.
So the my next guy and number 3 on the week, and currently number 9, 8 or 9, depending on where you look, coming back from an injury and looking like he's just a playmaker that he is. That's Cordero Patterson. He got 16 carries. I think that's a season high. Definitely looks like the best running back out there. I don't even know why the I'm not even gonna mention his name. I can't even remember it. I don't even know why the other. Yeah, I don't even know why that guy gets. Yeah, I don't even know why he gets any run. He only had 2 catches for 27 yards, so that's a little shallow there. Like I said, he made it up for that in the run game. So my question to you would be, who's the better option, Cordero Patterson or Austin Eckler?
Oh, it's Austin Eckler. I am on Cordero Patterson where I was on Austin Eckler 3 months ago. He's having a great season. If I had him on my team, I'd be a very happy camper. If I could get him on my team, I'd be a very happy camper. But I still don't trust him. I still don't trust him at all. I know he's great. I'll play him. I'll DFS him like a champ. But Eckler is the known commodity. He had a down week, but
not pretty good. I think he had like 20 points this week, so it's still solid.
Yeah, but statistically, if you look like fantasy-wise, he looked great, but as a real player, it was kind of like meh. So I was trying to figure out which column to put him in.
Cares about real players.
I do when coaches get mad and start doing other things. That's the thing, like the Jalen Hurts thing we're always worried about. But he did play the Jaguars, so let's see how he bounces next week was my pre-show. But I mean, next week he's going up against the Buccaneers. So if he does it against the Buccaneers, I'm on. If
all
not,
right,
then we'll see.
All right, next guy. I think we're both fans. We got him in a couple of rookie drafts as well. He was number 4 on the week. Seems to be completely taking over that backfield. So he's the number 28 running back on the year. That's Elijah Mitchell. 27 for 133, 1 touchdown. He also had the 5 receptions for 35 yards. So that's huge there too. If he can get in on that passing game. I know Debo, well, he got hurt this Sunday, but he was taking away a little of that work. But like I said, he was the backup running back. Mitchell was still getting his carries. So is Mitchell trending towards RB1 the rest of the year?
I think so. I made the mistake of thinking I need to get out from under the Elijah Mitchell thing with Jeff Wilson coming back, knowing the shenanigans that he goes through, that I traded away Mitchell for some pieces, one of them better than the other ones. Like a guy sent me a message, hey, Elijah Mitchell's pretty good. The guy that traded him to in our big league. I was like, yeah, I'm not trading with you anymore. All the players I give you end up being good. So yeah, I think he's low end 1. It'll depend upon game scripted, but yeah, he's a dependable running back. I think that's something that we need, especially with the slew of running backs going down that we're going to have to fill in. And without Debo, someone's going to step up, and I still don't believe it's Ayuk. I'm snake bitten by him still.
Ayuk is starting to play a little better.
He is playing better, but he's that guy. He's Devontae Parker to me.
Wow. All right, switching over to the wide receivers. We'll let you get a little shine here. Number 2 on the week actually, but Patterson was number 1 because he's both an RB and a wide receiver, so it's kind of tricky. So we'll call him number 1 wide receiver on the week. 35 on the year, 9 catches, 137 yards, and 1 touchdown, getting all the targets. Finally getting some deep threats there too. Going well, looking good. Question to you, Waddle or Devonta Smith?
It's Waddle. I tried to trade Waddle for Smith this week, and the dude was like, nope. A week ago, it was, yes, let's do it. And I waited too long because a lot of calculators have Smith higher, but Waddle's going to be the target machine. He's built more for He's built more as a player. So Dynasty for sure this season. I think so as well because of the favorable schedule my boys have next couple of weeks. I would have been wearing my 17 Tannehill jersey without showing the back for Waddle, but it was crazy. Like it's going to come back to haunt them later, but basically Tua's number 1 read was Waddle. Tua's number 2 read was Waddle. And luckily the Panthers were terrible. And his number 3 read was Waddle. And he threw to him because the next leading receiver on the team was former Florida State tight end Durham Smythe.
Oh, nice.
We'll talk about it in a moment. But
I did see catch a few balls.
Yeah, so he was, but it was 10 targets. So he had a 90% catch rate, and a lot of them though were still high percentage catches. So, but he looks great. He's targeted, and when you got the quarterback's eyes, I would keep rolling with him. I mean, he's going to rise if you can get him somehow or another. If you have like, I have a dynasty league where we trade up until the playoffs because it's dynasty, and I'm still going to try. Would you trade Terry McLaurin for Jalen Waddle for a dynasty pick?
I mean, that's close. I mean, at that point, it's just I think who you like is a better player. I think
He's a Washington football team fan, so I'm hoping.
Yeah, so I mean, it's possible. I mean, I like Waddle. You got Devonta Smith is just playing with a bad quarterback at the moment. Next guy, this is just a guy that I want to admit that I was wrong on. I kind of held off, and I think it's kind of over. I just can't stop it.
I have so much of this guy.
So number 3 wide receiver on the week, number 7 on the year. It's pretty impressive. 5 for 62, and he just 2 touchdowns. That's all he does is score touchdowns. That's Adam Thielen. 10 touchdowns on the week. Like
10 touchdowns on the week. That's pretty good.
Oh no, on the year. I just wanted to admit that I was wrong with the guy. You were right.
I don't know if it's so much I was right as I was lucky. Like I didn't expect. I mean, he looks like last year Thielen, and because your Justin Jefferson is still the alpha dog on that team. Thielen is old reliable. He's that dog you're not putting out to. You're letting play in the backyard for a while, and he just scores touchdowns. The sad part is, a couple weeks this year, he hasn't scored a touchdown. I mean, he still had 7 targets, so it's nothing to go on. And along with what we're talking about Friday, more with the injuries, with Dow Cook out, he might get some more there because Dow Cook had 7 targets as well. So those targets will go between Jefferson, Thielen. I mean, Madison will probably have some as well, but Thielen, I got him in some leagues on the cheap as like a future, for this year and maybe next year, and then figuring Jefferson will take over. Then I thought Osborne would come in, but he sort of disappeared too.
Yeah. So kudos to him. I was wrong. And then the next guy, New England Patriots. Like I said, they're not great. They're just steady. Number 4 on the week, number 23 actually on the year, and that's Kendrick Bourne, who's 5 for 61 and 2 touchdowns. He's been getting it done pretty much all year. He's a solid number 2 wide receiver, right?
Yes. I don't
low end wide receiver too.
Low end. I mean, you're gonna play him, but you're gonna play him with it's gonna be one of those you play because you have to. No one's gonna go, hey, this week I am playing Kendrick Bourne. It is going to be magnificent. But they're gonna. He's the who would be a guy? I'm trying to think. There were some running backs we talk about that you play that are consistent, but it just tastes nasty to play it. And that's what Kendrick Bourne sort of is, because you're like, why am I playing this dude? But you look, he didn't do great against the Falcons. He's in every other week, so don't play him this week. But he had a great game against Cleveland, but he's not been consistent enough. Before then, he's got like 30, 34, 38, 42, and 2 good games in the last 5 games. So if you play him, you're playing him with that gross taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, boomer bust. He's like pretty much a touchdown guy. I mean, he does get his yards a little bit here and there, but like if wide receiver 3, you need a spot, maybe a flex. I mean, he's a good start. Switching over to tight ends. Of course, it's tight ends. It's all crap. We got the number 1 tight end is Jack Doyle. Nobody was starting that guy. 6 for 81 with the touchdown.
So far, a waste of a player.
I didn't even know he was still playing. Somehow he's managed to get back in there. And your boy Dawson Knox, number 2 in the week. Tried to talk about him last week, but luckily you didn't. And we could talk about him this week because he had the 2 touchdowns. And then we had Gronk as the number 3 guy. He's just Brady's favorite target. So when Gronk plays, just
Gronk smash.
Locked in like tight end 1. What do you got?
Gronk stole the show. 10 targets, 7 receptions for $123. That's old school Gronk. He basically, him and Fournette doomed anybody who had any other player on that team that wasn't Leonard Fournette, and it was just rough. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But Gronk looks like he's ready for the playoffs. They've been smart with him. They're not trying to kill Gronk like old school Gronk. They're like, hey, if you got to go, you got to rest. Let's get you better. Let's get you healthy because we want the title in real life football, sadly for us. Knox didn't have a lot of targets, but he's getting the touchdowns. But on the last week, he had the targets. So I think it's game scripted where he is. They were just so far ahead that they didn't need to worry about it because the Saints were awful. And that bodes well for a lot of teams coming up. And if your team's going against the Saints, be happy because Buffalo just dismantled them. It was sad. It was the worst game of the day. Like you would have thought Chicago Detroit would be the worst game, but no, that was the worst game. And Jack Doyle, yeah, whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, switching over to the pain, which nobody really wants to talk about, so we'll just get it out of the way pretty quick. So we had Lamar Jackson just played absolutely terrible. He's currently the number 7 quarterback on the week. He's 20 for 32, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, 1 for 65, 165 yards. He had the 17 for 68. He just didn't look like he knew what he was doing out there.
Oh, terrible, painful. But that's what you get. I mean, that's going to be the theme. You're going to see it coming up here. Just you go into it's the same thing going on with Jalen Hurts, who I call a poor man's Lamar Jackson. You got the stat line right there in front of you?
Yeah, so Hurts was 14 for 31, 129, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but again, 8 for 77.
Yeah, it's just terrible weeks, and that's the life of the run dependent quarterback. If you don't get at least some sort of a semblance of a passing game, you better hope they run for $177 and 3 touchdowns. It's painful, and you got a third guy here. You tossed him in because I'm not, and I think he salvaged being total pain towards the end of the game. I mean, he did get that one pass to your boy DK, but
I'm talking about a different Wilson here.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw Wilson. Okay, you
My
are.
bad.
Why'd you put Russell Wilson in there?
I should have put the Z in there. Yeah. So my next guys, I just wanted to bring him up because he's just getting back from injury. That Zach Wilson, like the previous quarterbacks that have at least looked decent. Zach Wilson was 14 for 24, 145, and 1 interception. Did not look decent, but then again, he is a rookie. Sometimes the NFL is a hard job, so sometimes it just takes a while to figure out the NFL speed. Plus, he plays for the Jets. I mean, not good for Zach Wilson.
No, Zach Wilson coming in was doomed from day one. For some reason, the Jets liked him, and it's mainly because the Jets like to have high draft picks. Zach Wilson, he was probably close to my least favorite player with Mac Jones, and luckily I got one of them right. Luckily, Mac Jones wasn't the number 2 pick. I mean, that'd be better for the Jets and worse for Mac Jones, I guess. But yeah, he looks absolutely terrible. Somehow the stinking Jets won, which I mentioned before the show to you. I was telling you, like, they lost me a really big DraftKings thing. Thanks a lot, stupid Jets. They're my for those of you that have your mortal enemies, these are my least favorite team in the NFL, in case you haven't caught on yet, which makes loving Michael Carter so hard. But yeah, he looks absolutely terrible. When Joe Flacco looks better than you, I mean, too bad you couldn't start Joe Flacco this week, JJ Wang. When Joe Flacco looks better than you, that's just not good.
Yeah, and I'll throw in an honorable mention here. I'll just mention him and we'll move on. And that's Cam Newton, 5 for 21, 92 yards, 2 interceptions. Oh. He did get the 1 rushing touchdown. Kudos to you. I don't know if you can really start that guy anymore. So jumping over here to
was bad.
So jumping over here to the running backs, this is the first time this guy's really been on here. He's the number 4 running back on the year, and that's Nashia Harris. He was 8 for 23 on the ground, 3 for 14 through the air. He got blowed out, but maybe could have still been a little better here.
He could have been, and I just think he got game scripted out. I'm surprised he didn't get more passes in the long run, but the Bengals just rolled the Steelers. And that's about all you can say. And when you get running backs that are like power runners, once you get back, I mean, it was at halftime 31-3. He wasn't going to get anything after halftime. So he was game scripted out of that game fairly quickly.
But I mean, if he's a third down running back, how can he be game scripted out, right?
Well, you need to get the ball down the field a little more when you're down by 30. So you can't like have those like I mean, if I'm a defense, I'm going to let them dink and dump 3 yards to a running back and
he should have more than 50 catches, right? Roethlisberger can't throw more than 15 yards down the field anyway. Dink and dunk all day. But moving over to the next guy, not good. Neither one of them were real good actually. And that's Nick Chubb. It's actually 16 running back on the year. He's 8 for 16 and 2 for 23. Hunt not much better. Browns offense not good.
Yeah, I think in the docket I just wrote Browns running backs because everybody thinks they're a tandem, and it's just it was bad. Like Hunt averaged 2.9 a carry, Chubb averaged 2. Hey, Baker averaged 2.0 per carry, so that was right up there with him. And I don't know if it was a matter of Baltimore's defense playing really well or Cleveland just they didn't show up. They weren't ready for the Sunday night show. They need another year before they can get into the real show. They need that growth year, I guess. I don't know. It was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't. I like I said, I'm not a fan of that offense anyway. That's why I don't think they can do much in the playoffs if they even make it there. I'm not a fan of Baker. The next guy is coming back from injury, and maybe his job is being taken over as we speak, and that is Aaron Jones. 10 for 23, didn't have any receptions. AJ Dillon looking, his yards per carry isn't great, but he's catching all of his passes, getting touchdowns. I mean, it's just looking better than Aaron Jones at the moment.
He got paid. The end. I was playing against AJ Dillon. I'm like, sweet, Aaron Jones is going to play, and then that team ended up losing because AJ Dillon.
Yeah, so tough for Aaron Jones owners out there. They thought he was going to come in for a big year. Switching over to the wide receivers, this one hurts a little bit. We had Jamar Chase, number 8 on the year, 3 catches for 39 yards, a skid of 4 games where he hasn't played well. Are you worried?
He's a rookie. This is usually what's expected of a lot of rookies to hit that wall, I think. I mean, look, T. Higgins went bonkers, and T. Higgins last year had some good games and then hit the wall too. So I am worried. I'm not worried dynasty long run. I might be a little more worried season long run, but they put up 41, meaning there's going to be catches. He only had 3 targets, so I'm wondering if the Steelers double teamed him and let Higgins open. I haven't looked. I'm not a game film watcher, but he could have been game scripted out this week because he's Chase's boy.
Yeah, could have brought T. Higgins up in the pleasures. He had a big game. Next
yeah,
guy
is money.
Chris Godwin. He's number 12 on the year. 4 catches for 24 yards. It seemed like after he had that early fumble, Brady was like, I'm not going to anybody other than Gronk and just going to hand it off to Fournette. So it's a tough one, but I'm still pretty reliant on Godwin.
He's a PPR machine. You throw in there, you could throw in like Deontay Johnson, him. They're the same person to me. They need they're like Zeke. You got to feed them. If you don't feed them, you're not going to get a lot because they're not going to get very many yards. And he just wasn't fed. He didn't need to be fed.
It's tough when all your touchdowns are going to your running backs and you can't get anything like that. Next guy, it's been a disappointment since he's come back from injury. Again, bad quarterback play, not a lot of volume there. That's Jerry Judy. He was 67 on the week, 93 on the year. That's because he missed all those games. He only 2 for 25. Might have to wait till next year for Jerry Judy.
Well, that's the entire receiving core. They just paid Sutton. They just paid Patrick. Between Judy, Patrick, and Sutton, they had 6 catches for, it looks like about 70 yards. That's pretty bad for your top 3 receivers when the rookie running back has almost as many yards as your top 2 receivers on the week. So, yeah, I don't know what to think of them. Tim Patrick looks like the best receiver they have.
Yeah, it's tough. I know. I can't remember. Never mind. I'll move on. Next, I can't think of what I was going to say.
We record too early in the morning, everybody.
Yeah. So I'll bring up one guy and then 2 together, and then we'll get on to your segment here. All right, Kittle 1 for 13.
Yeah, guess he's not the next Kelsey.
Guess not. But hey, at least he is a great blocker, right? I heard that like 14 times on the broadcast.
He loves blocking. Have you ever seen him celebrate a block? He'll like block someone, get up and just. But it's because he's a wrestling fan. He'll pull up his wrestling moves like, oh, yeah, best block in the world.
Yeah, so, I mean, a great blocker. Kudos to you, but we don't get points for you blocking.
Debo's out. He'll be fine.
Yeah, well, maybe. So next 2 guys I'm going to bring together who they've been a bit of a disappointment, haven't really done it. I thought they were going to be a little better than what they were. That's Noah Fant, 3 for 12, and Dallas Goedert, 1 for 0. Both poor quarterback play. Might have to wait till next year.
Yep. 100%. No more to say. Goddard got paid. He'll be there. Fant will be there. They'll both be. Fant will be rolling with a new quarterback more than likely next year, and Goddard hopefully Hurts steps up or they get a new person. So I'm always excited for this segment of the week. Is my favorite segment. It takes a little research to pull some games I didn't see. We have surefire waste of a touchdown. And this is probably a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of pain. If you were dumb enough to start any of these guys, congratulations. If you didn't,
I'm pretty sure you didn't start any of these guys.
Yeah, I dug deep this week. Deep. If you start any of these guys, you're a fantasy genius. How about that? Or you needed to spend $200 on DraftKings, and that's how you panned it out. By the way, I came in last this week after winning. I came in second on Thanksgiving Day. But here we go. So let's go to Indianapolis, 62-yard touchdown reception. Michael Pittman. No, wait. No, it's T.Y. No, Ashton Doolin? That is definitely a
Surefire waste of a touchdown. I had to stay on this game and just wait for the guy to walk around until I could see the back of his jersey to figure out who.
I texted you immediately, I think.
Oh, yeah, you did. You're right.
Let's go to Thanksgiving Day. Dallas 10-yard touchdown reception for their tight end Dalton. No, maybe it's Blake Jarwin. No, who? Sean McKeon 10-yard touchdown reception. Who in the world is that? That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. Never heard of him. Honestly, I've only heard of one more of the remaining guys.
Yeah, because he's like 10 years in the league. Let's go to my least favorite team in the league, the New York Baseball Jets. We have a 2-yard touchdown run. Doesn't matter who is running it because they're just terrible and there's no running backs left. So it's by Austin Walter, though. Like, who is this dude? That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. Again, never heard of this guy.
Here's the guy you heard of, and that's because he used to catch passes that were thrown over his head when he was in college. He has a 7-yard reception in Jacksonville. They've got to be given to Chenault. No, maybe it's James Robinson. No. Oh, wait. Welcome back to the league a long time later, Tavon Austin. That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. I think Tavon Austin was just a man before his time. They didn't know how to use him back in the day. And now if he was coming out like this year, dude, he'd be, with his abilities to run and receive, he'd be great.
Yeah, he's got a lot of he's not worn out. He could be fine. Let's go to New York Football Giants, who pulled off a win. They're going to lose to my Dolphins this week. We got a 1-yard touchdown to a tight end. That's not number 88. Who in the world is this dude? I don't even know if I'm going to say his name right. Chris Myrick? That's a
surefire waste of a touchdown. Does he have more touchdowns than Ingram at the moment?
There's a very good chance. I don't know. I think Ingram doesn't Ingram have one? I don't know.
Okay.
Let's go to Denver, where they have two pretty decent tight ends and so there's a 1-yard touchdown reception by a tight end. It's got to be Fant. I'm not even going to try to say the other guy's name. Nope. It is Eric Sobert, or Eric Sobert if he's French. That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. See, this is why I've given up on Noah Fant.
Let's go to San Francisco. Last one. Debo Samuel, 3-yard touchdown. No, it's got to be your boy Brandon Ayuk. No, maybe Elijah Mitchell. No. How about Juwan Jennings?
You threw in a Juwan there? That's pretty impressive.
Juwan Jennings. Yeah, I've read it backwards. Juwan Jennings, 3-yard touchdown reception. That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. It was a nice toe tap to get into the end zone too. That was pretty good.
Okay, a couple quick pickups, then we'll have some wisdom from you. I'd say, hey, if you got spots, pick up Djax. You can get some deep shots there. If you need to stash, look at the Tennessee duo. Those dudes crushed it. I'll probably talk more about them last week, but using this week's stats, they killed. It looks like they're going to be a total running team. Matt Breida's getting the count. Another bye week is Chuba Hubbard, and tell us about your boy.
Yeah, so my boy, he might already be owned, but with DeAndre Swift going down, I think he's still under 50% owned. Jamal Williams might be a good option. I don't think Swift is going to play this week. So if he's available, they don't have any options on that team. So, I mean, he's probably going to be the only one. So I don't have much wisdom this week. I typically don't ever have much wisdom. It's just all nonsense. But I did have some controversy in the league that I was in and that I'm a commissioner of. It's been bickering ever since the draft, just back and forth with these guys. So I just want to, as a commissioner, feel sorry for when you got to deal with stuff like this, but I'm going to try to take care of it today. It's just for all you commissioners out there, kudos for what you do, and it's a tough job.
I told some guys I've talked to, I was like, really, when you're in a fantasy football, you represent yourself. It's a game. It's pretend. There's no reason for us to act any other way. Like we can be joking. I can bust your chops. We do that all the time, but there's just mean, hateful anger that just doesn't need to exist in fantasy football because it's a game.
Yeah.
And we definitely need to
relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said, you can't be mean about it. If you're willing to dish out crap, you better be willing to take it. And some of these guys can dish it out. Most of them can't take it when it goes back.
5 of our viewers.
Hey, I still love all you viewers, though. I'm not going to call anybody else. So all you commissioners out there, great job. I know it's a tough gig. So that'd be all for today. Ran a little long there. So as always, trust yourself and trust the process.